So we're going to do a series of discussions with different people locally that are related to COVID-19. This is the very first one, and this is with Cllr Marc Jones, and myself and Mark both work for Wrexham Council. But Mark, you've been off for a few weeks because of COVID, and what was that like?
Well, it started the end of March, really. Both boys and my wife went down with symptoms. They all three got tested because my wife's a nurse. Both boys work in a supermarket. They had cough, temperature, shortness of breath, loss of taste, the usual symptoms I think a lot of people have had. I thought I dodged it, but went down a week later, and to be honest with you, it's left us wiped out. Just April was completely wiped out, and we're just now starting to get back to normal, to be honest with you.
So there's been obviously the announcement over the weekend from Boris, isn't there? I don't think anybody knows what stay alert means, but in Wales it's definitely a case of lockdown for another 3 weeks and stay at home. So if people are thinking of sort of taking their foot off the gas, what would you be saying to them?
I'm really surprised how few people seem to have experienced it or know people who've got it, since I've been getting back on my feet. And I think it just hasn't happened for a lot of people. And until it happens to you, you don't realise it's not just the flu, it's absolutely devastating. And I think we were quite lucky. We had fairly mild symptoms, but it still knocked us for six. And it's ironic that we set up a network of volunteers locally, and we ended up having to rely on that network of volunteers, and I can't thank people enough. Friends and neighbours who shopped for us, went for prescriptions, basically looked after us in the way that I was expecting to be helping other people. And it's at times like that you really realise the importance of that network, to try and help people along. Because we did have some scary moments. I thought my wife would need to be admitted at one stage, but luckily no. And so I guess the message is, don't take it for granted that everything's getting better. I think the figures I've seen from the Office for National Statistics show that actually in parts of North Wales, the peak is yet to come, and that we've got to be really careful. And that's why I think the decision to keep the lockdown, ease it slightly, but keep the lockdown in, is the right decision, because there are people still dying locally, and there are people still being admitted to ICU, but there's also people who are really badly hit by all this, and we don't want that to happen to anyone. And if it means you can't go to the beach, well, it means you can't go to the beach.
I mean, the other thing that you see a lot of people talking about as well is getting back to normal. And if anything, this has highlighted a lot of things, this pandemic. So it's highlighted sort of inequality. It's really made people think about who essential workers are, hasn't it? Our posties, delivery drivers, care workers, NHS staff. And for me personally, I think about just basic things like food sustainability. How important my milkman has been over the last few weeks, and for loads of people locally, I'm sure, and being able to get just basics delivered and understanding how important it is to support local businesses. Do we want to go back to normal, or is now the time to sort of think about the opportunities of creating a new normal?
Yeah, I think the whole economy side of things, or rather the whole health side of things has made us realise what's really important to us, and you're right about key workers. And if you think they're key workers, then you should pay them a decent wage.
Yeah.
But in terms of the economy side of things, I think we're in a situation where it's an opportunity. It's a crisis, but it's also an opportunity to reset, rethink the way we work. I think an awful lot of people have realised, do you know what? I don't need to do that half-hour commute in the morning. I can work from home at least some days of the week. That might change the way people think about where they want to live and how they want to live, and that's a good thing. I think we've got to try and get out of the lockdown in terms of getting the economy back up and running when it's safe. But I think we also need to be working very hard with, the hospitality industry in particular, leisure, sports, all those businesses, which are really going to be jumpy now, I think, because there's talk about losing the furlough or cutting the furlough. That could mean millions of people joining the unemployment queues if we're not careful. So it's really important that we help and guide businesses back out of this and not go back, not cut back too soon, because otherwise we're going to have a massive economic recession, and people will be, struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah, and that's the main thing to avoid, is that big second wave, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think if we're tough now, tough on the virus now, then we put ourselves in a far better place for the autumn coming, when you'd expect the next wave, basically. And if we don't do that, well, in 1918, 1919, Spanish flu, that hit hardest with the second wave. So we've got to really treat this as an ongoing battle, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so there's some lessons to learn there. I think that's all the time we've got for this one, but if people watching it want us to look into chasing questions up, or there are people that you'd like us to speak to locally in relation to COVID-19, then let us know in the comments, and we'll see you soon with the next one.